I'm Robin Murdoch. After nearly 3 months, a strike involving Blue Cross Blue Shield workers could soon be over. A tentative agreement has been reached. We've got reaction to the proposed contract in my live report. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning, Robin. Also this morning, there are lingering questions about the emergency response after a vehicle slammed into the Fillmore Theater box office earlier this week. Coming up, why the Detroit Fire Department is investigating some of its own firefighters.
Working for you. Fox 2 News Live at 11 starts now.
More on that in just a few. But first, good morning and thanks for being with us on this Wednesday. I'm Lange.
I'm Brandon Hudson, and this morning all eyes are on Blue Cross Blue Shield as it inches closer to finalizing a deal with the UAW. We've learned about a tentative agreement that, if ratified, would end the 2-month strike.
Lots of people looking forward to this one. Fox 2's Robin Murdoch joins us live from downtown Detroit with the very latest. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning, Amy and Brandon. Yeah, this really is a huge development in this 11-week-long strike in which workers really did weather all sorts of weather. From what we understand, a number of phone calls between the president of the UAW and the president and CEO of Blue Cross Blue Shield led to this latest deal and what some say are historic wins.
I feel great today. Today is a good day.
The front of the Blue Cross Blue Shield headquarters on Lafayette in downtown Detroit is decked out for the holidays. And just in time for the holidays, the company's striking employees could soon be headed back to work. A tentative agreement between the UAW and Blue Cross Blue Shield could finally end the strike after nearly 3 months.
Most are very happy. I've got a bunch of thank yous, a bunch of about time, a bunch of we stuck it out, we held the line. It looks like we got some of the things that we wanted.
The deal on the table includes thousands of dollars in ratification and inflation bonuses and what's described as significant wage increases for the 1,300 call and claims processing center workers who walked off the job on September 13th. If approved, it would also dramatically cut the time it takes to get to the maximum pay level from 22 years down to 5.
At the end of this contract, anybody with 5 years should be at top rate. That is phenomenal.
During the 70-plus day strike, workers have walked in the blazing sun, pouring rain, and in recent days, the bitter cold and snow. Their time on the picket line now paused, though, due to the tentative deal that could soon become the real deal if and when employees at 4 local UAW offices in Detroit, Lansing, and Grand Rapids ratify it.
This is historic for any union member, regardless of what union you belong to. This is historic for us, the people that do the labor.
Now, the president and CEO of Blue Cross Blue Shield said in a statement that today the bargaining teams will meet to formalize our agreement, bringing our employees one step closer to returning to work. I congratulate and thank President Fain for reaching out and working directly with me to get to the starting line of the ratification process, end quote. And again, that is from the president and CEO of Blue Cross Blue Shield. Now, that ratification process is expected to happen in the next week or so. That is all still being worked out, but of course, stay with us right here at Fox 2 News for the latest developments on all of that. For now, reporting for Fox 2 News, I'm Robin Murdoch.
Robin, I'm curious because when I have been out there and talking to the Blue Cross Blue Shield employees who are on strike, one of the things that they mentioned was job security. We heard a lot in your story about wage increases, and obviously that's fantastic. Have they said much about what they negotiated in terms of that job security issue?
Yeah, not a lot has been disclosed right now, Amy, concerning the exact details of this contract that these workers, these striking workers, will be looking over. All of that is expected to come out in the next several days. That is when there will be a number of informational meetings in which these striking workers will hear all of the details concerning the contract, all of the things that they will be voting on. So I imagine in a short time we should hear more about exactly what is in this contract and what type of job security there is. So certainly a lot more to the story, but a huge development that could end this 11-week-long strike. Back to you.
That would certainly be great news. All right, thanks so much, Robin Murdoch. As always, we appreciate you.
Well, meanwhile, workers at Detroit's MGM Casino are still on the picket lines. They're bundled up in coats, gloves, and huddled around a fire. And it is all because they're still holding out for better working conditions. Unlike their colleagues at Hollywood and Motor City casinos, this group voted no on a tentative deal in hopes of earning an even better contract. The workers have been off the job for a little more than a month. They're telling us they picket in 4-hour shifts. Also, in downtown Detroit, the show went on at the Fillmore yesterday, despite someone demolishing the ticket box office the day before. But now there are questions about the emergency response during Monday morning's car crash. Fox 2's Dave Spencer tells us Detroit Fire is investigating their own firefighters for possibly violating policy with its failure to take the run.
2:30 Monday morning, an SUV slams into the box office at the Fillmore Theater on Woodward.
When the call came into the fire department, there were 4 units that were dispatched almost simultaneously.
One of the 4 units include firefighters from Station 1, a logical choice given that station itself is just around the corner from the Fillmore. However, the firefighters allegedly told dispatch they couldn't respond to the call because they had to complete paperwork from a prior run.
Dispatcher believed that they were in service, and that's why they were the first unit that was dispatched.
The department says, thankfully for the victim, 3 other units were also sent to the scene, including firefighters from Station 9, roughly 4 miles away. As it would turn out, their services wouldn't be needed.
Medic units were the first on the scene. They took her out of the vehicle and administered medical treatment to her and eventually conveyed her to a hospital.
An ambulance and police officer were nearby and got to the scene first.
From the time that we were dispatched to the time that we had fire department personnel on scene was only 3 minutes. According to DFD, they were able to safely get to the crash site in a timely manner. We don't believe there was a delay in response or that there was any issue with that. We had units responding, lights and sirens to the scene, not a problem. Now, the protocol that is normally followed, that's where the departmental investigation comes in.
Detroit Fire says what should have happened is firefighters from Station 1 should have completed the paperwork on the prior run at the scene or notified dispatch they were not in service, which would take away any confusion. As for the investigation, it's still in its beginning stages.
If there was a policy violation, we'll deal with the policy violation, but we're confident that there was not a delay in service.
And that was Dave Spencer reporting. The department says that on the surface, it appears to be a minor policy violation and would likely require some retraining or reprimand.
And Fox 2 continuing to follow a news alert from the waters off of Japan. A U.S. military Osprey aircraft carrying 6 people has crashed. At least 1 crew member who was recovered from the ocean has been pronounced dead. The search is on for others on board. The Osprey is an aircraft that can function as either a helicopter or a turboprop plane. U.S. and Japanese officials say the aircraft belonged to Yokota Air Base in western Tokyo. There have been at least 5 fatal crashes of Marine Ospreys since 2012, causing a total of at least 19 deaths.
After 2 days of mourning, former President Jimmy Carter and the nation prepared to say a final farewell to Carter's wife and remarkable former First Lady.
That's right. Rosalind Carter will be honored and then laid to rest today in her longtime home of Plains, Georgia. A service is being held right now at Maranatha Baptist Church. That's where Jimmy Carter and the former First Lady worshipped. Rosalind Carter will be interred at the Carter family home in Plains. And today's funeral follows a memorial that was really beautiful that was held in Atlanta yesterday. Fox's Madeline Rivera with more.
3 days of tributes honoring Rosalind Carter's decades of service are coming to an end. Wednesday, the former First Lady will be buried at her home in Plains, Georgia, where she spent most of her life with her loving husband, former President Jimmy Carter. Mrs. Carter passed away November 19th at the age of 96. Mr. Carter, who has been receiving hospice care since February, attended her memorial service in Atlanta Tuesday, alongside President Joe Biden, former President Bill Clinton, and every living former First Lady. Although he didn't speak, the Carter's daughter Amy read from a letter Mr. Carter wrote Rosalind 75 years ago.
My darling, every time I have ever been away from you, I have been thrilled when I returned to discover just how wonderful you are.
During Carter's presidency, Rosalind was his most trusted advisor. After their time in the White House, she continued advocating for mental health reform and human rights through the Carter Center.
She had met kings and queens, and the people she enjoyed being with the most were those that lived in absolute abject poverty.
Before her burial, a private funeral service will be held at Maranatha Baptist Church, where the Carters were members.
And that was Madeline Rivera reporting. Stay with Fox 2 on air and online for continuing coverage of today's services for Rosalind Carter.